This is part 2 of a 6-part series detailing a trip to Colorado full of hiking and adventures. Coming from sea level, Guy and Dale wanted to acclimate to the altitude, so Handies was a perfect choice since it is one of the shortest 14er hikes in Colorado. The distance to Handies trailhead from Lake City is 23 miles, and the road is part of the Alpine Loop except for the last 2 miles. Average speed was about 25 miles per hour, so it took us an hour to get to the trailhead. So this is the road to Handies, and it is very picturesque, along with every other part of the Alpine Trail. This section of road is a little scary if you are afraid of heights, because to the left is an actual cliff that you don't want to go over unless you have wings. I fly the drone in this interesting section of road later in this video while Dale drives. The mountains are rocky and rugged, and the valleys are green and full of trees. There is a small stream to the left that goes all the way to the trailhead. This is where the road forks. To the right is Cinnamon Pass, and to the left is Handies Trailhead. It's no surprise to see the many people who camp at or near the trailhead. Rooftop tents make camping where you hike very convenient. We have now arrived at the Upper Handies Trailhead, which is at 11,600 feet in elevation. This is footage of the last 2 miles to the Upper Trailhead. American Basin is mostly devoid of trees, as it is above tree line, but the wildflowers were in bloom everywhere, which you will see later thanks to Dale. Now that we're at the trailhead, let's check out the trail. Guy and Dale did the standard route, which is called the Southwest Slopes Trail. Handies Trailhead is at an elevation of 11,600 feet, and Handies Peak is at an elevation of 14,058 feet, so elevation gain is about 2,500 feet. The round trip distance is 5.7 miles. It is a Class 1 trail with only moderate exposure. Rockfall potential, route finding, and commitment are all low. Its Colorado 14er rank is 39 out of 53. Actual hiking time was 4 hours and 20 minutes. Let's now go to Guy for his trail reports.
Here we are at the Handies Trailhead, and so beautiful. Look at those 13ers. I think one of them is called American Peak, way above 13,000 feet. The funny thing is, when I first did Handies, I thought one of those was Handies. I was so naive, but I'd not done very many 14ers. So, one good reason to do Handies is just the beauty. Also, the trail is just amazing because it's dirt for most of it, as opposed to a lot of the Rockies, which are, as the name implies, they're quite rocky. And if you're like me and your eyes are not the greatest, then rocky peaks are not the best. But that's why we have poles, right? So heading up the trail. I'm now up at the lake, and it's just so incredibly beautiful. And it took me an hour to get up here from the trailhead. And the trail has just been amazingly good. If you're looking for a reason to climb Handies, it's the trail. Another good reason is the beauty. The wildflowers are out. So many different colors. The weather's beautiful. In the 60s, and life is good. And how I train to climb these 14ers, and I spend maybe 5 or 6 months out of the year training hard for these. So I'll do some VO2 max, so runners know all about VO2 max, and it's usually 3 minutes hard followed by 2 minutes of easy running. Repeat that, 6 to 8 times. I'll also do threshold training, and I tend to do a lot more of that because it's just easier for me to do it on the hills around San Diego, where it's 20 minutes at a hard pace. If you're a runner, it's 15K race pace. It's hard, so that it's hard to run and like at the same time and talk. But that's a really good thing to do, and if you can do 2 times 20 minutes, that's even better.
So we're looking at all this, how beautiful it is. Guy doesn't want to be in this shot. Go above these guys' heads.
Top of Handies. This is really great. It's amazing how many tall peaks you can see from up here. And we got up here, rain time. The weather's beautiful, not much wind, beautiful temperatures, and we were fit. So I wanted to talk about, being fit for climbing 14ers, because I've seen so many people who turn around in part because they were not fit. And we train a lot.
How old are you, Guy?
62 years old. Training a lot with my wife in San Diego, going up and down these hills. Sometimes 2.5 to 5 hours of training, hard training, threshold training, VO2 max training. If you're a runner or participate in other aerobic sports, this is what you want to do for training for 14ers. And if you do it, there's a great possibility you'll have lots of success, getting to lots of peaks. Okay, that's it from the top of Handies. Here we are, back down at the lake. Coming up, it took us 61 minutes to get to the lake and 2 hours and 6 minutes to get to the peak. Now we're back at this beautiful lake. Look at these jaggedy peaks in the background. These are 13ers. I think one is American Peak, which is something like 13,700 feet. Interestingly enough, at the peak, the only couple that had a sign was homemade, and it was the first time 14ers climbers. All the veterans, we borrowed their homemade sign when we were on the peak. And sometimes 14ers, it's hit and miss. Sometimes you have a really nice summit sign. It's made out of wood or metal, sometimes not.
That's Handies straight up there.
And sometimes, if you're on Whitney, you'll have lots of signs. It's both made out of metal and wood. So, we finished the Handies hike. We're down now at the trailhead, and you can see just the beautiful 13ers in the background. That was such an awesome hike. I recommend this as like a first 14er for anybody. And the reason is because it's such a beautiful hike. The trail is not as rocky as a lot of the 14er trails are. And you can't beat the scenery. The views from the top are just amazing. You see so many 14ers from the top. Parkway, Red Cloud, Sunshine, Wetterhorn, the Wilsons, et cetera, et cetera. And so I could do this every week in the summer. And just an awesome hike. That's about it.
Okay.
I got back to the trailhead before Guy and Dale finished their hike, so I wondered if I could catch them on the trail with my drone, and I looked out and caught them both. It was Guy out in front with Dale a couple hundred yards back taking pictures of wildflowers, which you will see in a minute. I do a before and after of Guy and Dale for each hike. And here are some pics Dale took on the trail. She is partial to wildflowers. And this is drone footage I got back in 2018. It was a lot cloudier that day. I am flying over Sloan Lake with American Peak in the background. And this is the upper trail and summit of Handies. About 4 hours to burn before returning to the trailhead to pick up Guy and Dale. And I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to drive up to Cinnamon Pass at 12,640 feet and fly the drone. The route I took is in yellow. This is the road up to Cinnamon Pass. It's a good road, and I think any four-wheel drive can do it. This is Cinnamon Pass. Let's get out the drone and see what we can see. Oh look, Handies Peak on the left and American Peak in the middle. And if you look really closely, I think you can see people on the summit of Handies. This is me killing time on the Alpine Loop with my tires aired down to 10 psi and my sway bar disconnected. So this is a pretty smooth ride. checking out some old mining ruins, probably over 100 years old. Dale volunteered to drive the scary portion of the road while I flew the drone. The drone camera really doesn't do the steepness of the cliff credit. It really was steeper than it looks. Well, we have come to the end of part 2. Up next is Uncompahgre Peak, which is Guy's favorite peak.